how to reach out and get your 2 cents. Read your piece today, and I wanted to bring some of that smart, intelligent, and thoughtful, insightful stuff to hear. What'd you think of when you heard Bill actually took the job? It's going to happen, Seth.
Well, thank you. I think that like the bigger thing for me was when it even came into the ether that he was considering a place like North Carolina, and then he obviously went on the record and confirmed it last week or earlier this week and talked about like, what the program would look like. And that to me was, that was a lightning strike because it showed that he didn't think the prospects of getting a job in the NFL that he wanted and felt like he could flourish at and how he wanted to spend, his remaining time in this profession. He didn't know if it was going to work out. And I immediately kind of wanted to know why, and then what the appeal of college was for him. And it's been fascinating. I mean, 2024 has not been the easiest year for Belichick, right? He got fired. He got one interview out of the 7 openings subsequently. And, as Don Van Natta and Jeremy Fowler and I reported, he didn't finish in anybody's top 3 in the Atlanta Falcons. The Dynasty docuseries comes out, which we're going to roundly minimizes his role in that, tries to erase it, and former players come out, in defense of him. And then the season rolls around. So he's got all these media gigs that I think he did very well. But every week, he and his former Patriots assistants, all of whom are out of the gig, are, they would meet on Zoom and they would go through every team, every game, every situation. They had incredibly detailed notes, as only the Patriots did it. And the subtext of it all is what jobs are going to open, what jobs are going to consider Belichick, and what jobs would he want. And I think that midway through the year, he asked the people on that call to look more into college programs, not excluding NFL programs, but also add college into it. And I think that the way he spent the fall going to a ton of college games, seeing his son Steven out in Washington a lot, and trying to survey the landscape and think about how he wants to spend his last, years coaching made college more appealing. So
let me dig into those Zoom calls a little bit more. So every week, Bill would get the band back together. Who was in the band?
The band.
On the Who was on the Zoom calls that were staying as current as possible in the NFL or football trends, Seth?
I mean, a lot of the people that you saw, on his podcast, adding in, Josh McDaniels and Joe Judge at times, some of those guys. But, I think that like what they were doing was they were, trying to stay current on the game and also thinking about what situation, again, might be best for them should it arise.
So which gigs do you think they were targeting in the NFL that they thought were now out of the reach for Belichick to the point where, or not out of reach, or just be too dicey to pass up North Carolina's opportunity to roll the dice on, Seth?
I think the general consensus was that the Bears were probably the best situation for a coach to go into. That said, I think there was severe skepticism that they were going to look at Belichick. I think they thought, that team's probably going to go offense to try to salvage, Caleb Williams and give him a good shot at having a good career. Then there was the Giants, and, the Giants on paper looked like a great match. Belichick going home, it would be a great story. But there's 2 things that happened there. Number one, Belichick has a great respect for Brian Daboll and thinks that he should be continuing to coach the Giants. And number 2 is if they happen to turn to him, that roster, I think they thought it was further away than maybe they realized. And this was going to be the 3rd year that he was in coaching. So 22, 23, and then 25, if he had been with the Giants, that the press would have been at him. And a daily topic is whether he's lost his fastball. And I think that's pissed him off, frankly, from what I've been told, and he's sick of it. And then you had these other situations, Dallas, who knows if they're going to make the change, and who knows if they kind of value the idea of a coach enough that they would want to bring in someone like Belichick. Jacksonville, Michael Lombardi on his podcast kind of took a shot at Tony Khan, Shad Khan's child, about his son, about running the analytics department. I mean, Belichick and Tony have gotten along well, but again, it's impossible to know if he would have gotten any of these jobs. He easily could have ended up with one interview again, and who knows if he would have gotten it. And he was going to coach next year, no matter what. Like, he never wavered from it. He was going to coach. And as the college landscape came around, I think that a lot of the scars from the past year and, situations where he would have had to compromise on some things and maybe wasn't as okay with that as he thought he might be. I think it gives him a chance to run the program the way that he wants to run it, with the people that he likes spending his time with. And it's a new challenge. And, don't count out a legend with a chip on the shoulder and looking for something to prove. I think he's going to do really well there.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.